The last thing my old man said to me before he died was, "Who benefits?" Or was it I crapped my pants? I don't really remember. I was drunk. Had just dropped out of school to play professional poker. I did pretty good too, but my sponsors didn't want to accept responsibility for creating a really good scotch. Like, if you don't want people to drink it and make some bad decisions, make a crappy scotch. No one will drink it. No one will make any bad decisions because of it. But if you make an awesome drink, don't get mad when your star player drinks it and vomits on the CEO's daughter. That's all I'm saying. Despite the grudge, I still pay to drink it. It's that good. Anyway, where was I? That's right. Who benefits? Get paid to play cards, meet hot babes, and travel all over the world? I did. I benefited. And why not? Prick. What was my other option? Put on a suit, go work for the family business. The family business. He owned a chain of plumbing stores, import cheap parts from China, sell them for a fraction. Who benefited when you put all those neighborhood stores out of business, Dad? The cold concrete felt good. The silence, too. The spot I had found was beautiful. Not a single building for half a block. I needed to get away from the constant traffic and clanging of pachinko machines. You won't believe how hard it is to find an empty spot to lay down in Wakayama, especially when the whole point of going to Wakayama is to get away from Tokyo. But I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing those words over and over. Who benefits? It took me a second to realize I wasn't hearing those words, but rather the shuffling of shoes and orders being barked in Japanese. I scrunched up tighter, hoping to block out the sound, but I heard footsteps getting closer. A hand grabbed my shoulder and shook me. When I opened my eyes, I saw an older man. He looked like he was in charge. Kinda looked like my pops, if he were Asian. If I hadn't sold my phone, I'd have taken a picture. I was more surprised by where I was. Behind me was a diner. The lights inside shone bright. I must have been even more drunk than I thought. Around us, a couple of men hurriedly washed tables and chairs, prepping for that night's service. They seemed panicked, as if they weren't going to make it in time before the first guest arrived. The old man said something to me I didn't understand. When he held out a 100-yen note, I knew what he wanted. I forced my body up and helped him take in the chair he wanted. When I asked for the note, he pointed 15 more chairs. No way this was worth a measly 100 yen. Still, it was enough to buy some breakfast. I took my sweet time taking in the chairs, and the others had just finished washing by the time I got to the 8th. The old man put the note in my hand and let go only after he made it clear how disappointed he was in me. You get what you pay for, prick. Breakfast was a can of Sapporo. Not the breakfast of the champions, obviously. The breakfast of champions was my former sponsor's scotch. I spent the rest of the day wandering and begging. Didn't manage to get enough to buy another drink. I gave up trying just as the sun had come down, while others were getting out of their own jobs and doing their dinner shopping. I went searching for a quiet spot to crash for the night. Had to get there early, before the other bums got there. I also wanted to be sure I was nowhere near that diner. I was woken up by the same bustling as I was before, the same old man, and the same short-handed crew. Only this time he ignored me, directing a small crew to work around my sprawled body. Despite the amount of work they had to do, they were surprisingly quiet, like ninjas. But I'd only had breakfast. Gonna sleep hungry and sober? Impossible. The 100-yen note seemed like a good deal right now. Lifting myself once again, I asked the old man if I could help, but he shooed me away from the entrance, away from the diner, and out of sight of his customers. Without the 100-yen note, I had no means to get a drink and went the whole day dry. I ate some leftovers from the trash, which kept me full. When I crashed that night, I was well aware I was in an empty lot. So when the ragtag crew woke me, I was also well aware the diner had indeed just appeared out of nowhere. But spirits and ghostly cafes mattered little to me, and I didn't wait for the manager, who looked even more like an Asian clone of my dad now that I wasn't drunk, to offer me any money, nor to shoo me away. Instead, I hopped up and started helping my coworkers wash the table and prep for dinner service. When we'd finished, instead of handing me the 100-yen note, he gave me an apron and pointed me towards the sink. I'd be on dishwashing duty, no gloves. It started out slow, but as more hungry patrons came in, dressed in their fancy club clothes and gelled up hair, soon it was hard to keep up with the plates going out. The water had to be hot enough to blast the fats and grease from the food off the dishes, and the green dishwashing pad was at least 100 years old. The only hint it once had a sponge fell off once I grabbed at it. Still, I didn't complain. The others were working just as hard to serve the customers. Suddenly it made sense to me. Who benefits? The cafe served the customers, who gave them money for their food, and the restaurant gave money to their employees for their service. They also gave money to the companies that delivered the food and the dishes and the rent for the place. Everyone was giving someone else money in exchange for something else. And for the first time, I thought about who gave me money to play professional poker. Sure, people liked watching me play. Nothing like they paid to watch LeBron. But there were still people who would pay to watch me play. Enough people that whoever wanted to be seen by those people would pay me to be seen by them. And they didn't want to be seen as a thing that made me fall over drunk and vomit all over my cards. They didn't pay me because I loved to play or because I wanted to travel. What I wanted didn't matter. What they wanted did, and they were willing to pay for it. Everyone was giving money in order to get something that they wanted more than the money. And everyone was turning that something into more money when they resold it to someone else. We were all tools, whores, getting paid to please someone else, from the owner down to the dishwasher. I decided then I'd be the highest paid prostitute. I made it a personal goal to finish all the dishes before they needed it to serve their customers, to make their lives as line cooks, servers, and managers easier. By the time we'd finished, my hands were meat. We lined up and the manager paid us for our work in cash. By the time he got to me, Asian Dad looked at my hands and then directly in the eyes. A chill ran down my spine, but the good kind. The kind that made you want to puff out your chest and smile. Proud. Pride. He was proud of me, and he showed it with more 100-yen notes than I could count. After the sun came up, I bought some pancakes and bacon. I thought about my sponsors and gave my contact a call. They sounded excited and they said they'd be in contact. I rented a cheap motel room and cleaned up. To celebrate, I had a steak for dinner, Kobe beef. The chef recommended whiskey to accompany my dinner. I'd only been sober a day, but I was sure I didn't want another drink for the rest of my life. Until he pulled out a bottle of my sponsor's whiskey. God damn, I love that whiskey. I don't remember how I ended up in the only empty lot in Wakayama again, but I'd learned to look forward to feeling the cold concrete on my cheek. The old man woke me again. Or so I thought. It was just a feral cat. He looked nothing like my dad. The lot, however, was still empty. Don't forget to share this story and make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new stories. We won't disappoint.